Well, how come they haven't sued Jaguar? She's outside still talking. With defamation, even if you don't have any money for people to get, it still stops you from saying certain things.
Legal strategy and reputation management. The central question is why Jay-Z and Beyoncé haven't sued Jaguar Wright for defamation despite her ongoing accusations. The explanation could be tied to their legal strategy.
Said that Jay gets his rights back in 6 years in the middle of me trying to sell my interest intentionally. So I guess I can only speak on my experience. I don't trust that guy. And as a businessman, as someone that gets sued, and you can ask any lawyer, y'all can discuss it.
By issuing cease and desist letters, they are trying to control the narrative and prevent the spread of damaging allegations. While silence might seem like an admission of guilt to some,
meaning Piers Morgan and his show is simply allowing people who claim to have personal knowledge on the show to attest to what they've heard and seen. We also had another guest on the show who counterbalances it and says, hey, I would never give this woman a platform. I don't believe a word she says, right? You and I heard that.
Correct. They didn't like that he said it, but he said it exactly. They said this guy's not telling. She's a conspiracy theorist, is what Vlad said. So even if you wanted to argue, well, the other side was said.
Yeah, and look, and he also takes the position in all of his interviews that, hey, look, the other side is not here today, right? Jay-Z and Beyonce are not here today. Get them on the show. Maybe he invited them, right? Have them make a public statement. We don't know all these things, but for him to just edit the video is pretty shocking. It tells me that he's legitimately scared of getting sued.
Well, I don't want to. I like Pierce. I've been on the show. I want to be back on the show, but he's not uncensored. he just proved to the world if you send a cease and desist, he will cower. And I'm kind of shocked by that. I can't not say the truth. I got to be honest. Look, maybe there's more to the story. You're right, and I'd love to know. And we'll have to. He didn't share it to us. He's supposed to be uncensored. He does this to so many people where he shares theories and stuff because we come on and share our thoughts. And I don't understand how he would be liable for that. Again, to me, this is just shocking that Jay-Z and Beyonce were able to get him to edit it. Now, they're not out there doing it to others yet. And I guess that's my next question. Like, what is your reaction to Jay-Z and Beyonce doing this? Does this make them look less guilty because they're finally stepping up and doing such actions? And do you think now other channels like myself and others are at risk at receiving these cease and desists? What is your reaction to all that?
Tactical move to avoid drawing further attention. Piers Morgan's handling of the situation. The drama surrounding Piers Morgan's show, particularly regarding Jaguar Wright's appearance, reveals a possible fear of legal repercussions. After receiving a cease and desist letter, Morgan edited the video, which some see as proof that he caved to pressure from Jay-Z and Beyoncé's legal team. This raises questions about his supposed and censored approach, as he is known for giving controversial guests a platform, but now appears to be cautious about legal backlash. The role of Dame Dash and Jaguar Wright. Dame Dash and Jaguar Wright are positioning themselves as whistleblowers, claiming to have insider knowledge of how Jay-Z and Diddy built their empires. They have teased the release of evidence, including documents and recordings, which they say will reveal shady deals and possibly illegal activities. This is causing a stir, as the media eagerly anticipates these potential bombshells. Is Jay-Z and Beyoncé's response making them look guilty? By aggressively defending their reputations, Jay-Z and Beyoncé may unintentionally appear more defensive or guilty. Their actions, issuing cease and desist letters, suggest they are taking these claims seriously, but without a public statement, it leaves the public wondering if they're hiding something. The silence allows others to speculate. Legal implications for content creators.
Look, as someone who believes in aggressively
discussing these
pursuing
issues,
reputation
it's
management,
important to
particularly
approach
online
the topic
and in the media, I don't blame Jay-Z and Beyonce for taking a position and being aggressive with it, right? I think the conversation has to be had that, look, these statements are false, they're defamatory. I haven't seen any public statements by Jay-Z and Beyonce since this P. Diddy thing happened. It almost seems like they've been kind of laying in silence, despite the connections that people have made. So I do think that this is probably the first domino that will fall among many. And I fully anticipate and fully expect to see Jay-Z and Beyonce issuing more of these things. Absolutely. I don't think.
How do we respond as creators? Because I like to deem myself uncensored. I share my opinions, but I also make it clear it's my opinions. I've never once declared Jay-Z and Beyonce guilty of anything. I don't know, but are we allowed to share other viewpoints that are saying otherwise?
I think what's great about the United States of America is that viewpoints should not be censored. And you have not taken the position, Andy. You're an outstanding guy because you cover both sides and you tell people that, look, or you say, this is my opinion and this is what I base it on. So I don't think that you're in the line of fire. You're in fact commenting on the fact that Piers Morgan received a cease and desist and edited his video, right? So it would be ironic if they sent to you a cease and desist. That would almost be like, you talking about somebody who infringed a video and got a cease and desist, and then people claiming that you infringed as well. And so it's a fair comment. It's criticism. It's a matter of grave public concern. It's probably the most important matter of public concern outside of the hurricane that's happening, which is trafficking and all these sex victims coming out. Yeah. So it's a serious matter of public concern. So comment on it is something that our laws protect.
So here it is, not to inception everybody. Here's my video with those uncensored comments still intact. Am I legally safe to keep this up? I didn't make any comment confirming what Piers said. In fact, we talked about the whole story. What is your advice there for any content creator who maybe has this clip online? Yeah.
I mean, generally speaking, I think what you should do is you should just be careful of what you say. If you're covering a topic, cover the topic, provide perspective, add some value to it like you do on your show. You kind of debate it. You have guests on, you reach out to people involved, comment on it. Commenting on it is fine. Making factual statements is a little bit different, right? If you come out and you say, you've read the text messages, you've seen it, this guy is like this, he's a sex offender, he's like that, you better have some receipts to back it up. Instead of just making these factual conclusions, make comments like you are. Criticize the fact that Piers Morgan has a show called Uncensored.
Sharing opinions or perspectives is acceptable, but making definitive, unverified statements, e.g., declaring someone guilty of a crime, can lead to legal consequences. Creators should focus on providing context and offering a balanced view rather than presenting and proving claims as fact. Public discussion and legal boundaries. Legal experts
lawyer,
suggest that public figures, especially those involved in high-profile controversies, are well within their rights to protect their reputations. If someone is falsely portrayed or associated with criminal activity.
I have a lot to say on this, Andy, and that's because as somebody who aggressively pursues reputational issues, I think it really depends on which side of the fence you're on. If you are on the side of Jay-Z and Beyonce, you're on their PR team, you're on their legal team, you are taking this seriously. You are going to send cease and desist letters to anyone in the media who is falsely portraying you to be complicit with P. Diddy. I mean, that's the biggest name and the biggest issue plaguing the United States right now in the news is this issue, and you're being associated with it. So if you want to sort of clean up your association with it, guilt by association, if you will, then this is exactly what you're going to do, right? And so it's an aggressive legal move. On the other hand, if you are a content creator, if you are in the news media, this is a scary thing because you are providing commentary. You're interviewing people who claim to have personal knowledge, okay? And she does rub shoulders. This particular woman was an S worker, right? She ran knee deep with a lot of big names. And then you have another guy who came out and said, yeah, look, I mean, you have another guy who came out and said, this woman is a conspiracy theorist. So who really knows? But the point is, Piers Morgan is giving a platform to these people. I don't think it's fair to compel him to edit something and remove it from the universe, right, to the extent that he can, when he's simply giving a platform for public opinion. In this case, somebody who claims to have personal knowledge. She's not a nobody, right? She's not just somebody off the street who's claiming this is what happened. She's somebody. And more importantly, Andy, Piers does not say, you played the clip, Piers does not say that Jay-Z and Beyonce are guilty. He does not take a position. He asks questions like a reporter and a journalist should do.
And at one point, he does even say they're not here to defend themselves. He does. And you're right, Vlad says, oh, it's all nonsense, conspiracy theorists. But what they do really focus on these clips, and you can watch it in the next video, they talk about his silence, which really was deafening. He hasn't been saying anything. And when you say silence, say nothing, sometimes that sounds guilty, right? Even though it doesn't mean to be, doesn't mean it is. That's just how it approaches. So it's interesting that the first statement we're getting from Jay-Z and Beyonce regarding Diddy is a cease and desist, allegedly, sent to Piers Morgan. And we'll be interesting to see if I get one or if others get one. Do you think, again, people are trying to associate guilt to Jay-Z? I don't know. I wasn't there, but these are fair questions it seems to be willing to ask. And shouldn't he at this point release a public statement before he's out there doing private cease and desist? It just seems a little shady. Like, part of me wants to see that discovery from Piers Morgan's lawsuit. I'm kind of shocked Piers isn't letting it go and seeing if they actually sue him, because in a weird way, if they sued us or Piers or whatever, wouldn't we get a lot more data that they might not want out there regarding this whole Diddy?
They can pursue legal action to defend themselves. The question then becomes, how far should they go to censor opposing viewpoints? And when does the pursuit of reputation management become too much? Media drama and legal battles. What's really going on with Diddy, Jay-Z, and Beyonce?
You asked a really good question.
The situation with Diddy,
Jay-Z and Beyonce have been silent.
is heating up,
look guilty
especially
by
in the
not
media.
speaking out
the
about
latest
this?
round of drama
I
came
think they should
after
have issued
Jaguar
a
Wright
statement a
made
long
some
time ago. If I'm on their PR team, I'm going to say, look, one sentence, right? One sentence. We are not associated with this. We don't condone the acts that were alleged.
We're horrified by the tape we saw.
We're horrified by the tape. I mean, look, many people have been alleged to be associated with it. Very few, if any, have come out and made any statements at all. And so it's difficult in these situations, right? Because once you make a statement, people then pry that open and you have to make more statements. And it really depends. Again, lawyers have to advise their clients on what's the best under the facts and circumstances. With this high profile of a case, I would expect at least a statement from Jay-Z and Beyonce before they sent a cease and desist. But maybe they're going to do that next. We don't know. You asked a question about, now that they've said something, does it make them sound guilty? And that sounds a lot like the Streisand effect, where you bring attention to something, not necessarily making yourself look guilty, but you bring attention to something by saying something about it. But look, this is perhaps...
Right, I'm reporting on it again now. Everybody's going to be reporting on this. It's all over the news today.
But here's the deal, Andy. Like, this is the most public-facing interview, the biggest splash that directly hooks Jay-Z and Beyonce. This is the first one I've seen. There's a lot of creators out there who've been saying things like look into Jay-Z, look into Beyonce, who may have a following, but this is Piers Morgan, right? I haven't seen anyone as big as Piers Morgan directly address or have somebody on their show address Jay-Z and Beyonce and any alleged connection to Sean Combs, right? This is the first gigantic splash. So perhaps that's why.
It's pretty bad. We're going to put she makes some serious allegations, which Pierce doesn't ever try to say are true, and I'm not either. But she makes a whole claim about the fact that she has 3 witnesses that are ready to, come forward about sort of behavior that she alleges about, sounding behavior. She makes a theory about Aaliyah. I don't know what's true, but she has a right to put this out there, especially if she has these people that are talking to her. Would that hold up in court if they came after Jaguar and she really did have 3 people who had their own opinions or stories about it? Is she allowed to have a theory about Aaliyah? Like, this is all stuff that she's allowed to do, no?
Various allegations about Diddy and even connected Jay-Z and Beyonce to him. This is the first time a big name like Piers Morgan has directly addressed these claims on his show, making it a major moment in the news. Jaguar claims she has 3 witnesses who can back up her story about Diddy, and she's not holding back. She even made some bold statements about Aaliyah and her theory about what happened, though we don't know if any of it is true. But she has the right to speak her mind and share what she's been told, as long as she has the evidence to support her claims. Over the years, the rumor mill has been buzzing about Diddy and Jay-Z. There have been whispers about everything from Tupac's death to secret business dealings, and even the Illuminati. But now, Dame and Jaguar are hinting that they have information that could make all those old rumors seem like child's play. They claim to have real receipts that could shake up the entire music industry. If what they're saying is true, it could lead to big changes, like canceled contracts and entire empires crumbling. The legal side, defamation, and what's at stake. Jaguar is facing a defamation lawsuit, which is different from how things would play out if Piers Morgan were the target of one. Jaguar is making statements based on personal experiences, which means she needs to have solid proof to back up her claims. If she says she has 3 witnesses, she needs to be able to name them. If she's claiming that something happened to her or that she knows something private, she better have evidence to avoid getting into legal trouble. If Jay-Z and Beyoncé really have nothing to hide, some might argue that they should go after Jaguar
factual statements based on actual alleged experiences, meaning she's claiming knowledge of private facts. So she better have those private facts. So if she claims there are 3 witnesses that she's talking to now, she better have names of those witnesses. If she claims that, she was passed around, if she claims that, she specifically says in 2022 that there were experiences, some of which have come to light and surfaced, she needs to have receipts of those things. If she's claiming that she personally experienced them or people told them to her, in order to avoid potential defamation liability in the United States.
Yeah, it's interesting because you'd think if Jay-Z and Beyonce wanted to really, if they're telling the truth, here's my final thought. If Jay-Z and Beyonce really have nothing to do with this, which they may, I'm not claiming they do, you'd think they'd go after Jaguar Wright pretty aggressively and stop her and cease and desist her and make it clear. If you've got nothing to hide, you scream it from the rooftops and you go after the alleged conspiracy theorist and prove that she is, right? That to me is the move. To go after Pierce and force him to now censor his uncensored show. There is a part of me that thinks this is probably just some London thing or exactly some boss or something that's going there, because I like to give this show a bit of benefit of the doubt. I assumed they would stick it out there if they got pushed. It's disappointing to see how quickly they caved, but maybe in a way this was a way to spread the story even bigger, to show that, yeah, Jay-Z and Beyonce are nervous. I mean, this is not going to be good for Jay-Z and Beyonce. This was a weird approach. If they really were going against this and they wanted to get to the truth, make a damn statement already, a public one, condemning Diddy, and call out Jaguar Wright and go after her. And let's see how that presents, because I would love to cover this case of Jay-Z versus Jaguar Wright. Final thoughts? What do you think, Reyes?
Look, I really do believe that journalists have a responsibility to be fair, right, and to report on facts. But I also believe in the media and the media's right to cover topics of grave public importance and cover it widely and broadly and make comment on it. And I just don't think that Pierce had a duty to edit commentary that somebody else is making on his show, particularly in light of the fact that the other guest said she was a conspiracy theorist literally a minute later. So yeah. I just don't think that it was fair or legally required for him to do it. We haven't seen what's in the cease and desist. I would love to see that. Pierce, if you watch this, man, publish the cease and desist, right? Let's see it. Let's understand what the basis was for alleging that it was, that he may have liability. I hope it wasn't one line on a sheet of paper.
More aggressively to shut her down. If they truly want to clear their names, the move would be to make a public statement and take legal action against Jaguar for spreading false information. By not doing this, some people are suggesting that it looks like Jay-Z and Beyonce are nervous.
Impartial jury. And by the time this thing goes to trial next year, will they be able to find anyone to serve on that jury who does not already have formed opinions negatively about Diddy based on all this press coverage? So that's what he's arguing. And he's saying, hey, this needs to stop so that jurors can come in who don't already have preconceived notions of his guilt. The problem is that these statements are not being made by the prosecutor. The court certainly has authority over the parties and their lawyers to tell them to stop speaking or limit their speech, more accurately, leading up to a trial if it would result in an unfair trial occurring. But here, this letter that Diddy's lawyers are filing are directed towards the media, which there is no way that a U.S. court can tell the media not to report on something. There's maybe one national security exception that's been recognized many, many years ago, and even that's in question. So you can't tell the media stop reporting.
And it's raising more questions about their involvement in all of this. The media's role and fair reporting. Journalists have a responsibility to report on things that matter to the public, and that includes covering stories like this. However, Piers Morgan shouldn't be forced to censor guests or edit their...
Again, Jay hasn't said a word about Rockefeller Inc. and why he's suing me and why his lawyers are representing Rockefeller Inc. and why he's trying to devalue it. But yet and still, you know, these people don't break down the math. So that's my thing with whatever he says. As soon as I see him, I know he's calling TMZ. He obviously is calling the Breakfast Club. There's a narrative that they went out there, but I don't see why, if he sued me direct, why he didn't sue him and her direct. Why? And then I start to think about how that whole situation happened in the first place. Apparently, we were making a press release, and I'm talking about when I was trying to sell the Rockefeller Inc. They had intel that they shouldn't have had on that side. So I know it was somebody that was next to me. You know? At least that's what it looks like. So for me, I don't know. I'm not talking about the validity of what's been said and all of that. I do know that, as I said last week, something must be done. That wasn't a lawsuit, but it did seem like there was a narrative out there and that people were told to say certain things and they fell in line. But I just think it's corny and it's becoming too obvious, you know. But based on my personal experience, I don't trust that dude because I know my experience with him, and I don't know why he's speaking for Rockefeller ever and how, you know, that kind of thing. But I'm wrong for wondering about that. That's just messing up my money. So I know when I see him, I say, that dude be lying to mess up my money. And that's my personal, just seeing him. You know, he's been speaking for Homeboy, and I want a direct answer from Homeboy. I don't care what that dude says, but he has a lot of gall, you know. And I also know I feel like, you know, again, I think he was the lawyer for Tory Lanez. Like, he's just the pause. To me, he feels like he's the fixer. Mm-hmm. That's what it looks like. He speaks. He has the gall. He's the strategizer. He comes up with the plan. Like, you could never think that when there's a situation, there's not a meeting had on how to deal with things. I think he's the person that's at the whiteboard, you know, at least when it comes to me. I'm not sure. So, you know, I read things and I never know what's true these days because a lot of it is on like TikTok and social media. So it sounds like Tupac's family lawyered up and is using that same lawyer. So it definitely, I mean, it has to invoke thought. You can't think it's not. And it's also like in this temperament, in this environment, anything that would be shady or would be a gray area, you think people would stay away from, you know? And also when I see people like, cause like I said, when the things that have been accused are too dark to like for someone to be wrong. You know what I mean? Like if you riding out with a person and you still talking complimentary of them, if you're wrong, you're gonna look stupid. And there's too many gray areas to stand 10 toes down on for anybody right now. So anyone that I see do that, just based on how it sounds like the industry is controlled, I think that there must be they must have something on those people as well. But that's just me logically, I'm a thinking man. You know what I mean? You know, that's just me. But again, a lot of people have opinions and talk about this all day long based on what they think and what conspiracies. When I'm talking about it, I'm talking about my personal experience with these people. And I don't think people really understand the magnitude of that. Like, there's people that y'all reading about are the people that I have direct problems with, lawsuits with, that are trying to mess with my money. That the same way everybody else wants to figure out these gray areas, these gray areas actually have been affecting my money. So how am I not going to, you know, be able to have any opinion on it, but everybody else could, you know, become brilliant in business and opinions in law, you know, just based on what's trending, you know?
People online are saying that going after Piers Morgan was the right move instead of targeting Jaguar Wright. What do you think about that?
Again, what I think is people online, you know, becoming, like, if they don't look at the logic, like, it doesn't matter if she could pay or not. They could make her life so uncomfortable that it could become illegal for her to continue to talk and lie. So again, what you want to do is, to me, if I'm being in that position, Paul, I'm going to say, I need the truth told. I don't need her to ever be able to spread that again if it's a lie. I don't want to hear her say that. My kids got to hear it. People in business have to keep asking me. They didn't do anything to stop her from keep talking. And a lawsuit suing her would do that. And if they sued Pierce instead of a cease and desist, then everyone would know that you could get sued for that. But when you just say sorry, it's the damage was already done. So if someone would say, yo, you could put up some craziness and just say sorry, then why wouldn't anybody else do that? That's the only recourse. Oh, I'm going to take you to court? That person that I know took me to court based on a lie. No cease and desist. So I don't know. That cease and desist is like, I get them all the time. It's a legal letter. It's not, it just means fair warning. But it's a courtesy. Pierce didn't give them the courtesy, so why are they giving him the courtesy? That sounds like a favor, but that's just my opinion, and it's only triggered because it's that dude. That's all. I ain't got nothing really good to say about him based on my experience. Those guys cheat, to me.
Their comments if they're making claims. One guest even called Jaguar a conspiracy theorist, but that didn't mean Pierce had to stop the conversation. Now, the question is whether Diddy will get a fair trial. The public's opinions about him are already all over the place, and it's hard to know if they'll be able to find jurors who haven't already formed opinions about him based on all the media coverage. Diddy's legal team is arguing that this negative press has already tainted the jury pool, and that's why they want it to stop. The situation with Diddy's legal troubles is getting more complicated by the day.
And so the government's doing this too. The thing is that really what these publicity rules do allow for is to saying, hey, if you are a witness, please come forward, help the government. Or Combs' attorney can say, if you're a witness, please come forward and cooperate with us in our defense. So that's an appropriate use of pretrial publicity, is to get that, other people out there to cooperate. Again, they do have to be very careful in the type of statements that they're making. The baby oil, buying it in bulk from Costco is just silliness. So, again, the federal court can clamp down on these lawyers that are involved for Combs and the U.S. government. But here, this letter is attacked, towards the news media, which there's zero authority to do anything about, and other people who just happen to have claims against him who are not, at this point, named necessarily as victims in the criminal case. So again, it just seems like he is getting pummeled. He's got an avalanche of negative information against him, and he's trying to kind of basically unbury himself. But I don't think this is going to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting because this Damien guy, the agent, has responded. The defendant, citing no authority, have listed that such an order bind any local and federal law enforcement agents assisting any aspect of the investigation or any related grand jury proceedings, including but not limited to the Department of Homeland. The proposal was plainly overbroad, as it would require the government to be held accountable for potentially thousands of agents in an independent law enforcement agency over whom the government has no authority or oversight. The Homeland Security employs over 200,000 individuals, as it states here. It basically just says this order would be impossible to enforce. Do you agree with this? Is this a silly thing? How do you think this is going to net out?
Yeah, I think it is silly. We kind of understand that there's a lot of high-profile cases. We cover these all the time, and they are able to find jurors. Look at Depp Heard. They found, some people might say, oh, that was a bad example, but we have high-profile cases all the time, intense media coverage, and they find jurors who say that they either don't know anything about the case because they just don't follow the news, or if they've heard things, are able to set that aside and follow the judge's instructions and base their verdict on the evidence that's presented. At least they're going to swear, hey, that's what's going to happen. Yeah. So even me, like I say, you and I have heard all this stuff. It's like, okay, I could serve on the jury. It's like, because I don't believe what people say, just because they say it. It's like I would I would be able to serve on the jury because I would listen to the evidence.
Yeah.
So even me that's heavily involved in following this, it's like, okay, I mean, the guy sounds guilty, but I would be willing to have an open mind and listen to the evidence and make a verdict.
Yeah, it is
So
all about
I
the
don't
due
think
process.
this threatens they be able to find anyone to serve on that jury who does not already have formed opinions negatively about Diddy based on all this press coverage. So that's what he's arguing, and he's saying, hey, this needs to stop so that jurors can come in who don't already have preconceived notions of his guilt. The problem is that these statements are not being made by the prosecutor. The court certainly has authority over the parties and their lawyers to tell them to stop speaking or limit their speech more accurately leading up to a trial if it would result in an unfair trial occurring. But here, this letter that Diddy's lawyers are filing are directed towards the media, which there is like no way that a U.S. court can tell the media not to report on something. There's maybe one national security exception that's been recognized many, many years ago.